Alara Moore was tired, not just physically tired, though her legs ached from hours of running deliveries, standing behind the bar, and rushing across campus between classes. Not just emotionally tired, though her heart felt stretched so thin she could almost see the cracks in it. She was bone-deep tired, the kind of exhaustion that burrowed into your chest and whispered that life was heavier than a body could carry. She was behind the bar, polishing a glass for the third time, the neon lights buzzing above like they were conspiring against her. Music thumped, not soothing, not background, it thumped in her bones. Her fingers moved automatically, remembering the motions without really thinking. Her mind wandered back to her mother's hospital room. Marianne Moore, pale and fragile, breathing with effort, hooked to machines that had become her constant companions. Every beep and hum reminded Alara that the clock was ticking. That bills were due. That time was slipping through her fingers like sand.
Another round?
Her
No, thanks, I'm
coworker
good.
called, snapping
He's
her
been
out of
staring
her
at his
thoughts.
glass forever. Don't you think
Alara
he's
shook her head.
off?
No,
No, thanks, I'm good.
Quote. Her coworker leaned closer, whispering with a mixture of curiosity and warning. That guy over there, he's been staring at his glass forever.
He's been staring at his glass forever.
Don't you think he's off? Quote.
Off?
Alara followed her gaze. He was at the far end of the bar, tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair slightly damp at the temples. Suit perfect, expensive, untouchable. Eyes sharp, intelligent, but unfocused, drifting like they were searching for something he couldn't find. She studied him for a long second. Something wasn't right. She approached him cautiously.
Sir, are you okay?
Are you okay? Quote. He looked at her, and for a brief moment, relief flickered in his gaze. Then it was replaced with exhaustion, sharp and raw. I need help, he said, voice low, almost strangled. Alara noticed his trembling hands. The way his jaw twitched. The faint sweat along his temples.
You've been
drugged, she said softly, her heart skipping.
Come with me.
Quote. He hesitated, but she didn't give him a chance to refuse. His weight was heavier than she expected as she guided him through the bar. Whispers followed them, eyes tracking their every step. Men laughed, women murmured, and she held onto him like her life depended on it, because in that moment, maybe it did. Outside, the cool night air was sharp against their skin. He drew in a shaky breath, as if the fresh air alone was a relief.
I
didn't ask your name, he said, voice raw. Alara, she replied. Lucian Blackwood. Quote. Her stomach dropped. Blackwood. The name carried weight, influence, someone she would never, ever imagine interacting with, and yet, here he was, trembling in front of her like a human being rather than a headline. A cab arrived, and she helped him inside, gripping his arm to steady him. The ride was quiet. Alara's thoughts were spinning, imagining the worst that could have happened if she hadn't been there. At the hotel, he collapsed onto the bed with a soft groan, muscles tense, eyes closed. They were trying to ruin me, he murmured. Headlines. A scandal waiting to happen. Quote. Alara bit her lip.
You need a doctor.
Just
Quote,
stay.
No hospitals, he said quickly. Not tonight. Quote. Her brow furrowed. Then, what do you need? Quote. He opened his eyes slowly, studying her. Someone,
Then what do you
just
need?
to be here.
Just presence.
Presence. Quote. Her chest tightened. I don't. He lifted a hand, stopping her.
I
won't hurt you. Quote.
I can't.
Alara hesitated, her mind flashing with fear and exhaustion, bills and obligations, her mother's face pale on a hospital bed. She swallowed. Okay,
Can't.
but I'm worried.
About a
A
condom.
condom.
You're worried about a
I
condom.
can't.
Condom,
Risk pregnancy.
Risk pregnancy.
Quote. His eyes widened, just slightly, then narrowed in thought. After a beat, he exhaled a humorless laugh.
You're worried
about a condom? Quote. Yes, she admitted, cheeks burning. I'm not reckless. Quote.
I
He
see.
studied her for a long moment. Then, almost casually, he said,
I see.
I'm
impotent.
Quote. Alara
You're
froze.
what?
You're
You're safe.
Quote. I can't perform. Medical condition. You're safe. Quote. A lie, of course. But it worked. The tension in her chest eased slightly. She didn't fully understand why she trusted him, but in that moment, she did. The hours passed in a strange, suspended quiet. He lay back, exhaustion softening the sharp edges of his posture. She sat in the chair nearby, watching him. Breathing. The city lights reflected across the glass wall. The hum of the air conditioner filled the silence. And slowly, the barriers between them eroded. Hands brushed. Hesitation lingered. Then, softly, almost impossibly, they moved together. It wasn't about passion. Not really. It was desperation, fear, connection. The need to feel something real in a world that had demanded so much from both of them. Alara didn't panic. Lucian didn't force. The lie about impotence had created a fragile space of safety, and in that space, they found intimacy, fleeting but undeniable. By morning, it was over. He returned to his distant, controlled self, the walls he had let slip for one night snapping back into place. The money appeared in her account the next day, enough to cover her mother's bills, enough to buy a little breathing room. Alara left quietly, telling herself it was over. That night had been survival. Nothing more. Weeks later, standing in a small clinic bathroom, hands shaking, she stared at two faint blue lines. Her heart raced, throat tight. The man who said he was impotent. Lucian Blackwood. Her world tilted. Alara's hands shook so violently she almost dropped the test. She pressed it against the edge of the sink, trying to steady her breathing. Her fingers trembled over the plastic stick, over the small, undeniable reality that this wasn't a mistake or a dream. She was carrying his children. Her mind spun. How could this happen? The impotence, the fragile, fleeting connection from that night. She had believed herself safe. And now everything was unrecognizable. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror made her flinch. Pale face, dark circles under tired eyes, lips pressed tight. She looked exhausted, worn down by months of relentless survival, and yet, in her stomach, there was life. Life that she couldn't ignore. Life that demanded she act. She tried to think clearly, tried to plan her next move, but fear clawed at her chest. She couldn't just leave it. She couldn't carry this secret alone. Not for the babies, not for her mother. Her mother's image came unbidden. Marianne lying in a crisp white hospital bed, oxygen tubing snaking gently around her face. Her lips moved in quiet encouragement. "You're strong, Alara. You'll find a way." Alara swallowed hard, tears prickling her eyes. She had to tell him. She didn't know how, she didn't know when, but she had to. She couldn't do this silently. Not when the stakes were so high. The next morning, she forced herself to sit at her laptop, fingers hovering over the search bar. She typed quickly. Lucian Blackwood, Blackwood Enterprises, headquarters. Every keystroke sent a thrill of fear and anticipation through her. Could she really face him? Could she survive the conversation without breaking down completely? By the afternoon, she had found the address and was standing outside the massive glass doors of the Blackwood headquarters, her heart hammering against her ribs. The security guard gave her a skeptical glance. He asked, "Alara Moore," she said, voice steady though her stomach twisted. "Lucian Blackwood knows I'm coming." Quote. The guard raised an eyebrow but stepped aside, motioning her in. The doors closed behind her with a soft whoosh, and suddenly, she was swallowed into the sterile, intimidating world of wealth and power. Everything gleamed, everything was polished, everything screamed control. Lucian was waiting in his office, tall and impossibly composed, eyes sharp as knives even as they flicked to her arrival. He didn't stand, he didn't smile, he simply looked at her like she had walked into a trap he hadn't fully expected.
Alara, I wasn't
he said,
expecting to
voice
see
low,
you again.
carefully neutral.
We
I
need
wasn't
to
expecting
talk.
to see you again. Quote.
About?
She swallowed, holding her trembling hands
We
together.
need to talk.
We need to talk, she said quietly but firmly. He leaned back slightly, steepling his fingers on the desk, eyes narrowing just enough to unsettle her. Quote.
About?
The truth, she whispered.
The truth.
About this.
About this.
She pressed a hand against her stomach, almost instinctively, as if the gesture alone would lend gravity to her words. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then his expression shifted, almost imperceptibly, from controlled distance to something tighter, harder, incredulous. You're serious. Quote.
Twins.
Yes.
Impossible.
It's not
she
impossible,
said,
it's
voice
real.
barely
And
above
you
a
expect
whisper.
me to just take
I went to
responsibility?
Because
the
I don't have a
clinic.
choice.
I'm pregnant. With twins. Quote. His eyes darkened. One hand flexed against the polished wood of his desk. Then, slowly, he ran a hand through his hair, leaning back. Twins, he muttered. Impossible. Quote. Alara's throat tightened. It's not
Twins.
impossible.
Impossible.
It's not
real.
impossible, it's
Quote.
real.
He
And you
exhaled
expect me to
sharply,
just take
jaw
responsibility?
Because I don't
tight,
have a choice.
Eyes narrowing. And you expect me to, what? Just take responsibility. Quote. Yes, she said, voice stronger now, even as panic bubbled beneath it. Because I don't have a choice.
I know you're more than
They
that,
don't
but
have
I
a
don't have
choice.
another
And
option,
my mother,
and neither
she
do
needs
they.
help. I can't manage this alone. Quote. The silence that followed was suffocating. Not polite silence, but tense, heavy, urgent silence. The kind that presses in from all sides and makes your chest ache. Lucian leaned forward suddenly, elbows on the desk.
You think
eyes
I'm just
stormy yet
some rich
conflicted.
man who throws
You think
money
I'm
at
just
problems?
some rich man who
No,
throws
I know
money
you're
at
more
problems.
than that, but I don't have another
Quote,
option,
no,
and neither do
she
they.
said quickly,
No,
swallowing
I
hard.
know you're
I
more
know
than
you're
that, but
more
I
than
don't
that,
have another
but I
option,
don't have another
and
option,
neither do
and
they.
neither do they. Quote, he ran a hand down his face, letting out a slow breath. We need structure, he said
We need
finally, voice
structure,
low, deliberate.
boundaries, control. For
Boundaries.
that,
Quote, Alara's heart sank slightly. Boundaries. Quote, yes, he said, a contract, temporary, until the babies are born.
a contract,
So everyone
temporary,
knows our
public,
roles.
marriage,
So
until the
there's
babies
no
are born.
scandal.
So everyone knows
So
our
your
roles,
mother's
so there's
bills
no
are
scandal.
covered. And so, you and the twins are safe. Quote, the weight of his words pressed on her chest. Resentment, all collided inside her in a jumble she couldn't untangle. She glanced down at her trembling hands.
A contract
marriage. Quote,
marriage.
he nodded.
It's not about love.
It's
Not
about
yet.
protection.
It's about protection,
survival.
about
Quote,
survival.
She exhaled slowly, trying to
This
steady
is
herself.
terrifying.
This was terrifying. This was humiliating. This was also the only way to protect her family. Will she allow Lucian to make the decisions about the twins and herself? Will she sign the contract? If you want to know what happens next, please like and subscribe to this channel to get update on the next video.